Iran just claimed they fired 4 ballistic missiles at the USS Abraham Lincoln, a $20 billion American aircraft carrier floating in the Gulf. Read that again. Not a drone strike on a base, not a rocket at an outpost. A direct ballistic missile attack on America's most powerful warship, the kind of ship that carries 5,000 US sailors, 70 aircraft, and enough firepower to flatten Tehran in an afternoon. Iran's Revolutionary Guard announced it publicly, posted about it on social media, told the entire world they just targeted America's crown jewel of naval power. And then the US military responded with 3 words that changed everything. Didn't even close. US Central Command didn't say the missiles were intercepted. They didn't say the carrier's defense systems shot them down. They said the missiles launched by Iran didn't even come close to the Lincoln, which continued launching aircraft in support of attacks against Iran. Let that sink in for a second, because what just happened here isn't what the headlines are screaming about. This is about something way bigger. This is about a country that just got its supreme leader killed, trying desperately to look strong while its entire military infrastructure is being systematically demolished in real time. And here's the part that should absolutely terrify anyone paying attention. The videos everyone saw online showing a burning carrier sinking into the Gulf. The footage that went viral within hours of Iran's claim. All of it was fake. Military analysts confirmed the videos were generated from Arma 3, a video game, not actual combat footage. Iran needed the world to believe they could hit an American carrier, even though they couldn't. Because here's what actually happened in the 72 hours before that missile launch. On February 28, the United States and Israel began the largest coordinated military operation in the Middle East since the Iraq War. Operations named Epic Fury by America and Roaring Lion by Israel. And the target wasn't just Iran's military, it was Iran's entire government. Israeli airstrikes hit Tehran directly, not the outskirts, not the suburbs, the heart of the Iranian capital. And when the dust cleared, Ali Khamenei, the man who ruled Iran for 36 years, the supreme leader who outlasted 8 American presidents, was dead. Iran confirmed it on March 1st. The entire command structure of the Islamic Republic just got decapitated in one coordinated strike, and that's when Iran fired at the carrier. Not as a strategic military move, as a psychological one. If you're still watching, hit that subscribe button, because what happens next gets even more insane, and you don't want to miss how this ends. Now let's talk about what the US Navy's real response looked like, because calling it devastating doesn't even begin to cover it. President Trump laid out 4 objectives. Prevent Iran from getting a nuclear weapon, destroy its missile arsenal and production sites, degrade its proxy networks and annihilate its navy. Not damage it, annihilate it. And the numbers coming out of the Pentagon are staggering. Thousands of high-value targets obliterated in the first 100 hours. Iranian command centers gone. Headquarters leveled. Air defense systems wiped out. Missile production facilities reduced to rubble. And here's the stat that tells you how effective this operation has been. Ballistic missile attacks from Iran decreased by 90% since day 1. And drone attacks decreased by 83% according to CENTCOM. Iran didn't stop attacking because they wanted to. They stopped because they physically can't anymore. The infrastructure is gone. But the Navy's response went even further. Trump said the US military destroyed 9 Iranian warships, and are going after the rest, stating they will soon be floating at the bottom of the sea. US forces wiped out more than 20 Iranian Navy ships, and put a hole in the side of Tehran's most operational submarine. On March 4th, a United States submarine struck and sank the IRIS Dena, Iran's most modern frigate, approximately 40 nautical miles off the southern coast of Sri Lanka. That marked the first time an American submarine sank an enemy warship since World War II. Let that historical weight settle. The last time this happened, Hitler was still alive. And here's what nobody in mainstream media is explaining clearly. This wasn't just about punishing Iran for the carrier claim. This was about sending a message to every country watching. China is watching, Russia is watching, North Korea is watching, and the message is crystal clear. If you target American carriers, even if you miss, America will erase your navy from existence. Now here's where the economics of this war start affecting every single person on Earth, whether you live in Iowa or Indonesia. The Strait of Hormuz isn't just important, it is the single most critical choke point in the entire global energy system. Roughly 20 million barrels of oil pass through it every single day. Saudi Arabia's exports go through it. UAE's exports go through it. Kuwait, Iraq, Qatar. Every major Gulf oil producer depends on that narrow strip of water. And right now this conflict has disrupted approximately 20% of global oil supplies, transiting the strait, causing prices on the Brent Crude market to rise from around $70 to over $80 per barrel within days. If this continues for weeks, not days, that number could hit triple digits. And when oil hits $100 a barrel, everything else collapses. Your gas prices spike. Shipping costs explode. Grocery prices climb, because everything you eat got transported using fuel. Airlines start canceling routes because they can't afford to operate. This isn't some abstract economic theory. This is what Wall Street is pricing in with real money right now today. Insurance companies are already repricing risk for every tanker in the region. Some are refusing coverage entirely. Captains are anchoring outside the strait and waiting. And the global oil market is now pricing in something it has never had to consider before: the possibility that the Middle East oil supply could be offline for months. Drop a comment below telling me how gas prices are looking where you live, because this is hitting everyone differently, but it's hitting everyone. And here's the human cost that gets buried under all the geopolitical analysis. Preliminary figures show 1,230 dead in Iran, at least 11 in Israel, 6 US soldiers and 9 killed in Gulf states. Behind every single one of these numbers is a real person, a son, a daughter, someone's entire world. The head of public relations at Iran's health ministry says an Israeli attack on a girls' school in Minab killed about 180 young children. Read that number again. 180 children, not soldiers, not military targets, children sitting in classrooms who will never go home. That's not collateral damage, that's a war crime, and it should make every person with a soul feel sick. But the civilian casualties didn't stop at Iran's borders. At Abu Dhabi's airport at least 1 person was killed and 7 wounded when Iranian missiles retaliated. Dubai's airport, the world's busiest for international traffic, got hit. Kuwait's airport got hit. These aren't military bases. These are civilian hubs filled with regular people trying to get home. Think about the millions of Pakistani workers in the Gulf right now. Millions of Indians, Bangladeshis, Filipinos, Africans, regular working people who went to the Gulf because their home economies couldn't provide opportunities. They work construction, hospitality, logistics, domestic work. They send money home every month. Entire families back home depend on that wire transfer arriving on the first. Dubai was never supposed to be a war zone. Abu Dhabi was never supposed to have air raid sirens. Doha, the city that hosted the World Cup in 2022, the city of luxury malls and gleaming towers, is now a city where people are watching the sky. Nobody who went to work in the Gulf signed up for this. Nobody got a risk briefing that said, by the way, there's a possibility American military bases near your job site might become missile targets. These are ordinary people trapped in a catastrophe, manufactured entirely by decisions made in Washington and Tehran. If this is opening your eyes, make sure you hit that like button and share this, because people need to understand what's really happening. Now here's the geopolitical calculation that makes this war almost impossible to stop. Trump already told the world he would decide who Iran's next supreme leader is. He said it publicly on the record, with zero diplomatic framing, as if regime change in a country of 90 million people is a scheduling decision he makes between meetings. And then addressing the Iranian people directly, Trump said, when we are finished, take over your government, it will be yours to take. That's not a suggestion. That's an American president essentially giving Iranians permission to overthrow their own government, while US bombs create the conditions for revolution. The problem is externally imposed regime change has a terrible track record. Iraq collapsed into sectarian civil war. Libya became a failed state. Afghanistan returned to Taliban control. Syria fractured into a dozen competing factions. And now America is trying the same playbook in Iran, a country 4 times the size of Iraq with a far more complex society. What could possibly go wrong? And here's Trump's impossible dilemma. De-escalating now means admitting this entire strategy was overkill. It means acknowledging that killing Khamenei and decimating Iran's military didn't actually solve anything. It just created a power vacuum with no clear successor, and a population split between celebrating in the streets and mourning in the thousands. Some Iranian civilians went out to celebrate when Khamenei died. Celebrations were heard in cities like Isfahan, Karaj, Kermanshah, Qazvin, Sanandar, Shiraz and Izeh, but security forces were deployed to prevent an uprising, with footage showing them opening fire on celebrants in the streets. Elsewhere in Iran, thousands gathered mourning. The country is fracturing in real time, and America's plan seems to be let them figure it out while we keep bombing. Trump said his administration expects the conflict to go on for 4 to 5 weeks, but they have capability to go far longer than that, and the cost of going longer is staggering. The US is spending approximately $900 million per day on this operation. Per day. That's money that could rebuild every crumbling bridge in America, fund healthcare for millions, or just not get spent while the national debt climbs. And for what? To ensure Iran never gets a nuclear weapon they weren't close to completing anyway? To destroy a navy that posed no realistic threat to American shores? Or is this about something else entirely? Because here's what this conflict has actually accomplished so far. It destabilized global oil markets. It killed over 1,000 civilians, including 180 children. It turned the Gulf into a war zone, affecting millions of workers. It crashed stock markets with the Dow Jones falling over 400 points. It grounded thousands of flights with airspace closures across the UAE, Qatar and Kuwait, causing massive losses for carriers like Emirates Airlines. It displaced families. It shattered the illusion of Gulf safety, and it proved that American military might can destroy infrastructure, but it can't install stability. There's a version of the next 60 days where this spirals completely out of control, where Iran, with nothing left to lose, actually does develop a crude nuclear device using whatever materials survived the bombing, where oil prices don't just climb, they explode past $150 a barrel, where the global economy tips into recession, where food shortages start appearing in countries that have nothing to do with this conflict, because supply chains run on oil and stable shipping routes, where one miscalculation, one wrong target hit, one civilian massacre too many, turns regional anger into something far more dangerous. This isn't fear-mongering. This is what every military strategist with a security clearance is quietly wargaming right now. And here's the historical parallel nobody wants to say out loud. America is repeating the exact same pattern that collapsed every previous empire. Overextension. The belief that military superiority equals permanent control. The assumption that bombing a country into submission creates grateful allies instead of generational enemies. Britain learned this after World War II, when it couldn't afford its empire anymore. The Soviet Union learned it in Afghanistan, when a superpower got bled dry by asymmetric warfare. America learned it in Vietnam, forgot the lesson, learned it again in Afghanistan, and now the bill for the Middle East chapter is arriving. The question isn't whether America eventually pulls back. History says it does. The question is how much destruction happens before that retreat. How many children die? How many economies collapse? How many workers in Dubai and Doha spend their nights terrified before the people making these decisions finally realize the cost is too high? Iran claimed they hit a $20 billion carrier. They didn't, but in trying to look strong while collapsing, they revealed something far more important. This war isn't about missiles or carriers or supreme leaders. It's about two countries trapped in an escalation cycle that neither can afford to lose and neither knows how to win. And somewhere in a bunker right now, American generals are staring at maps, realizing the easy part is over.